All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited. This is another slightly new format for me. This is going to be a lot of fun to take you on a virtual safari to Botswana to learn how to observe closely elephants, and we should be having a lot of fun today. All right, so today, what are our goals? As I said, you probably read when you were signing up. Today's goals is to really hone our observational skills. I'm going to de-emphasize the drawing part, although we're going to see how we can use some simple sketching for learning and for enhancing our observational skills. But I want to challenge our ability to see and not just look, and to record the data that we're going to be observing in a number of ways. So in written form, and we'll talk about this as we go, through numbers. So I might challenge you to try counting elephants. And if we're so inclined, absolutely visually, we can practice sketching too. But don't feel intimidated if you're new and you're like, sketching, no. But I am going to give you some tips on using shapes and some great ways to quickly do elephant parts. We can also have a lot of fun doing details rather than trying to sketch a whole herd of elephants, which of course would take hours. So I mostly want to really hit on observational skills today. So myself, I'm a minimalist nature journaler. You guys probably know I tend to only have my notebook, a pen, just a few watercolors, and I do 90 to 100% of my entries while I'm out in the field. So I just really like to make it real, keep it right all there. That way I don't angst about page layout and this and that. I just kind of go for it. And we'll be doing that today because we're going to be in the field and the elephants aren't going to wait for us. First of all, during the video, don't worry, I'm actually going to be repeating. There's about a 6 or 7 minute section of water hole that we'll be observing. This is video shot by my husband, Jonathan. So it was video that we were present at. It's not a webcam or anything like that. So don't worry, we're gonna run through it once. And then I'm going to run through it with you and talk about some observations. And then I'm going to play it again. So we'll be going back and back. So don't get stressed out because you think you're missing things. All right. I am Roseanne Hansen. I am the Art and Science Field Coordinator for the University of Arizona Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill. And I run the Field Arts Institute through our Exploring Overland website. I'm the author of Nature Journaling for a Wildlife, and I love to share the love of nature journaling with people and through art, science, writing, all of that. So thank you for joining me on this really fun virtual field trip. So elephants are really astonishing animals. They're the largest land animal. They truly are exceptional to be around. It's incredibly special when you get to spend time observing elephants in the wild, and also in zoos. If you have a chance to observe them in zoos, it's pretty incredible. They can be incredibly sedate and hang out delicately picking leaves off of acacias like this guy. They can be sometimes a little fun and goofy, rolling in the mud and covering themselves in dirt. Or they can get pretty aggressive if you get too close to the baby there and mom's not too happy with you. But let's look at a few elephant facts. These are things that are going to help you today in your observations. I will share the PDF with these facts at the end of the slideshow. If you wanted to open it later, work on it, then you'll have that too. So African elephant is Loxodonta africana. And you'll hear people refer to savanna elephants, forest elephants, desert elephants, that do have physiological differences, but they all are the same species. The average lifespan is 70 years. And adults are from 8 to 13 feet tall, really tall, and 2.5 to 7 tons in weight. As you probably know, the herds are matriarchal, commonly 3 to around 25, and with the head female, her sisters, and their offspring. But sometimes there are larger aggregations of up to 500 or more, where sometimes groups of bulls will join the females to form loose clans, especially during the dry season, or if their herds are being severely damaged by poaching. If they're under a lot of threat, they'll form larger protection clans. So an elephant mom has to carry the babe for 22 months. And when they're born, they're just 3 feet tall, but they weigh 200 pounds. The trunk, as you know, is the nose, and it's used for smelling, drinking, and grasping things. It has 2 little lips at the end that are very, very good at grasping. Interestingly, Asian elephants only have 1. African elephants have 2. And their trunk contains 40,000 muscles. So it's incredibly dexterous. They can use it for picking up 1 little leaf, or they can use it to kill you. They are really, really talented. Males and females both have tusks, and they will eat dirt, mud for the salt content, which they don't get enough in their food. And then the important part we need to remember is they are very vulnerable to extinction. There are fewer than 400,000 African elephants left today from an estimated 26 million that were on the continent prior to European arrival. Incredibly sadly, about 8% are being killed every year. That's about 27,000 elephants, 74, 75 a day. Yeah. And the reproduction rate is not high enough to make up for that loss. So we are losing our elephants. So the more we love elephants, the more we can do to protect them. That's what it's going to be all about. So let's go observe elephants. And I'm going to show you some pages I did. These are my first sketches doing elephants, where I just really focused on details. This is from the visit to this water hole. And you can see I picked details. I didn't try to get super perfect about sketching, and very, very loose and sketchy style. And we'll be going into that, and I'll give you some materials on that in a bit later. You can see here, this is my very first time sketching live elephants. I tell you what really helped was having a gin and tonic while I was sketching, because then I relaxed and I stopped worrying about it. But I did details. I did love the skin texture. You can see where I got the ear shape all wrong, and I had to scribble it out and do a different shape. I just really went for it. And that's what the best way to sketch live is. And those of you who want to jump in today and try that, great. Don't worry about it if you don't. Now, what I want to really focus on here is that little chart down at the bottom that I drew. I wish I had seen that before I even got to this, because I actually found this later in a field guide. But let's look at this chart. Now, this is something that I think is going to be really good for you to take a look at right now. And actually, I'm going to have you, if you feel like it, sketch these 3 elephant silhouettes. And the reason is it was going to help you with observing, because we're going to try to estimate age of what elephants we're seeing. So the 3 general groups here are baby less than 2 years, an immature young adult, 8 to 12 years old-ish, and adults over 20 years. And so we're going to look at the shapes like this. So if I were sketching these, which I'm going to show you really quickly how I would do this super fast. So I'm not going to try to be perfect. But the reason I'm suggesting sketching these right now is because that gets into your brain the shape of each elephant group of a baby. of a young adult, of an adult, because you're going to start seeing differences, and you're going to pick that out when we're watching them at the water hole. So the way I go about it is just look for the big shapes. Don't think about drawing elephants, otherwise you're just going to go, ah. So narrow it down to the big shapes. So on the baby, really a baby is just a big belly with a head stuck on the end and a little trunk. He doesn't have a big developed trunk yet. And then 2 rectangles for his, or 4 rectangles for his legs. And then as they grow, let me show you how I'm going to swap to a different view here. So hold on. I'm going to now swap, see if this, can you see now? Nope. There. Now can you see my notebook and my hand? Just give me a thumbs up if you can. Thank you. All right, so here's what I did this morning real quick. This is what I meant by just doing it really sketchy and fast with shapes. So, you know, here's, as they get bigger, they're getting more of a rump, where the baby is just basically all belly, because that's really what he does, is he eats. And then another big shape, belly's getting a little lower there. This is actually, you know, just a really, it's going to be kind of where the ear and then the head takes off from, shapes like that. And then I'll just do a simple triangle. The immature is getting his trunk developed, but it's not as developed as the adult yet. It's not going to be quite as long. So maybe we give that a short there. And then we've got our basic elephant shape. And then we might, you know, add their feet are really big on the bottom. But that's our good basic shape. Now, one thing you'll notice about the immature is they don't have the big forehead yet. I'm going to go back now to that one. Now, can you see the silhouettes again? Yes? No silhouettes? Okay. Gonna try, I have to, apparently it wants me to do it. There. Okay, now we're back to silhouettes. Yay, okay. So try just sketching those for just another minute or so that you kind of get the feel for the shape of an elephant at 3 different age groups. And just note things like that bigger forehead on the adult, because they've developed more of a substantial body than the immature, it appears their legs are shorter, where the immatures appear to have really long gangly legs because they just haven't developed the bulk of the main body. And where the tails, notice tails, the baby's tails tend to stick out, haven't grown all the way down yet. So these are things that are going to help us as we hone our observational skills on the safari. So we will now, let's see. Let's look at the elephants and what you've just seen with the silhouettes, and notice how, yeah, you can see how the babies are just basically a little blob shape, the head stuck out on the end. They have little trunks, tails sticking out. There's actually a number of really little babies in this particular photograph. And then you can see the full adults have the bigger head, forehead, bigger tusks. The immatures, the one on the far left, you can see just starting to get his little tusks, first sign of tusks. And he's just getting his or her developed body, but still small ears. Look at how big the ears are on the adults compared to the babies and the subadults. So these are all really great things to remember when we are on safari. We're going to be heading to a waterhole in a remote section of Chobe National Park and in Botswana. And we'll get there by land cruisers. It's a 4-wheel drive track all the way in. And they've got these wonderful hides, they call them. And we'll be going up into the hides so you can be observing the elephants while they hang out at the waterhole. This is a very remote section of Chobe. So we didn't see any other humans. I think for like a couple of days, maybe we saw one service truck for guys that work for the park, and that was it. Really special place. So about what our goals are, again, let's go over that. We're gonna work on honing our powers of observation to note maybe several types of data and how we might write them down, or put them in our field notebooks. Written data, so that is just taking straight field notes. If you can all make sure you're on mute. I can't go back right now and mute everyone, but everyone check their mute. I've got someone coming through right now. So written data, take notes on behavior, colors, the environment, just write. That's what, okay, so I am going to have to pop over here. Everybody check their mutes, please. Since I don't have an assistant, I can't go in. Numerical, we might be counting individuals. We might be trying to estimate how many babies, how many immature, or how long one of them is drinking at the waterhole. These are all things you can do in addition to visual data, which is sketching. If you don't want to do individuals, you can try sketching feet or shapes of trunks or something like that. So that is just what we're going to be focusing on now. Now we're going to head to Botswana, and we're going to jump in some land cruisers and head to our hide deep in the park. And you're going to watch for a while, but don't worry, I'm going to repeat the sequence several times. So don't feel like, I lost it, because this was, live video. So, we're moving around a lot. So it's just like you were there. You're going to be distracted. Things are going to happen. So don't worry, we'll be going back and visiting. I am checking the chat now for questions. Thank you for helping Connie there find the view. Will this be available to view later? Yes, thank you. I should have mentioned it's being recorded, and I will post it probably later this evening, and it will be on exploringoverland.com/fieldarts. You can find it there. I am ready to head to Botswana. I hope you are. Everyone's seeing our beautiful planet Earth on your screen now? Thumbs up if you can. Yes, thank you. Here we go. And I'll be pausing occasionally. So Chobe National Park is right in the heart of Botswana, just to the northeast of the Okavango Delta. It's grassland, savanna, and trees. You can see all the water holes dotted around there. And here we are in the land cruisers. Notice all the elephant dung, and then how it's really cleared out around everything. Elephants just really eat a lot. Now we're just going to observe for a while. I'm not going to narrate this one. Let's just observe.
Isn't that cool to be able?
All right. The time really goes fast. That's, I think, 6 or 7 minutes. But what I'm going to do now is show you my notes. Then we're going to go and watch them again. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that we might have observed. Then we're going to go back again and practice different types of counting, observing, or sketching. So let me just go through what my notes said at the time. So when we arrived, there was actually only one elephant when we first arrived. And she drank quietly for a few minutes, and then they started coming at 26, and then more and more, and 40, until in this video, near as I can tell, we have about 43. I want to see what we all come up with. It's hard to do. They move around a lot. Others come in from the side, some leave. So we make an estimate. But I took notes on, what region we were. I sketched a tree that was nearby, which is a favorite food of the elephants. And then next page. The next page. I hope some of you noticed the big male who came in from the left. I sketched him because he was absolutely huge, about 20% taller than everybody else. And also noticed that, see in the upper left of my page, I noticed that about 4 of them didn't have any tails at all, including one mother-baby pair. Neither of them had tails. And we talked about this, the people we were with, they didn't appear to be scarring, like they had been attacked like predator, but one of them had a lot of holes in the ears. So maybe that was a predator attack. We just didn't know, but 4 having no tails at all was really interesting. So again, observing and how big this male was, his massive head, so wide. We're gonna look at him closely here in just a sec, because he was massive, and it is a he. You can see his dangly bits. And I want you to watch him when he comes in on this next run through. And I'm going to do some narration now. I can do a quick estimate of numbers here by very quickly counting heads as we go. This is the same group. The camera angle just moved a little. Got 1 elephant in the mud hole at the moment, but you can see others are considering coming over. I count about 5 or 6 babies. Hard to tell because they hide under their mom's bellies sometimes. Now, what's this guy doing in the mud? Sometimes he's throwing the mud, but sometimes it looks like he's putting the mud in his mouth too. We want to watch that because that's interesting. And try counting individuals here. It's hard. You're going to have to practice a lot because they move, your head's moving, camera's moving. But I'm getting somewhere around 43. Every time I do it, it's a little different. So that guy's definitely eating mud. See how he just mowed his head into the mud there. It's got salts in it. And once there's a lot of activity, that kind of attracts these younger guys. Some of these are younger, and they're going to have their little mud party together. These all appear about the same age, don't they, or close. Now there's another individual coming in on the upper part there. That is not the really big male that came in before. This is the really big male. Now, observe how much taller he is than all the other adults, and watch what they do when he gets there. Everybody just gave him way. Before, they jostled and pushed each other to get to that water. There's a very small water hole there. There's two parts. One, you can see the group on the right and the group where the big guy is. But again, he's about 20% taller than the other adults. This is a good place to sort of count too, because everybody stopped moving around. The camera's well focused. I'm going to pause that for just a minute. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm kind of estimating 10, 20, 30. Yeah, I'm still getting about 43, 45. So it'll be interesting when we come back to the end to see what our observations all of us are getting. So let's keep moving that. There. Now, I think what would be really great to do, I'm going to keep running this on a loop, and let's just spend the next 10 or 15 minutes taking notes, sketching. While you're doing that, I'm pausing for a minute here because I'm going to put the detail photos in. I'm going to put a PDF in the chat that you can click on and download. So I'm going to stop the share for a moment and get that PDF for you. Okay. This is a link. I'm putting it in the chat, which you'll find at the bottom if you haven't seen that yet. Okay, is everyone, you can download this as a PDF and open it. It's got detail shots. So if you want to practice sketching feet or eyes or ears or elephant skin or something like that, feel free to grab that, throw it up on your screen as well. And all of this will be available on the website as well for later download. So let's go back to watching elephants. All right, are we back? You guys can see this screen with the elephant video, yes? Thumbs up, thank you very much. All right, so I'm just gonna grab my notebook. I'm gonna take notes. Might do some sketches, I might not. Today's not really about drawing, but it's kind of hard to resist with elephants, isn't it? I'm just gonna keep replaying it too. One tip, if you want to try counting babies, for example, is to just write in your notebook, just write babies and then make a hash mark for each one you can discern throughout the whole observation period, trying not to count the same one twice. Right, that reached the end of that. I'm going to leave it on this screen for a few minutes so we can continue to kind of do some tallies. Even though they're all bunched together, I think we can get some heads and baby counts. And then I'm going to go back and on that still of the big guy, so maybe we can do a quick capture of the big guy. All right, let me go grab, let's take a look at the big guy. And we'll play this one more time too. We're going backwards now. All right, let me pause it here. Because there's some just great stuff here to look at. trunk, the width between his incredible head. That trunk is so wide compared to other elephants, adults. Maybe notice how many toenails you're seeing. Have you ever noticed elephant toenails? Also his ears, really scarred up. And another thing to notice about this particular individual and the old, big, wide face and trunk, this guy, notice how the trunk comes up and then you can see the flesh come around and then close his tusks, which you can see better because he's worn them down so much. He's so old. They've been broken off, worn down. He still looks pretty darn good shape though. Just big guy. So observationally, you might, take notes on that. You might try to sketch it. You just noticing how the flesh comes up and encloses his tusks, and then giant forehead, which of course is an important part of elephant physiology. Those hollows. Oh, let's see. Well, I'm going to play the video one more time. Looks like we've got someone to figure out how to get rid of the arrows on the screen. Hopefully you guys can't see those. It's an iPad relic. Someone's using their iPad. It's an odd thing with Zoom. I don't know if you can see it. All right, let's play. Let's just play it from here one more time. Can anyone else, can you tell me if you see all the arrows on the screen from someone swiping? Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to get rid of that. Holly, do you know how?
I'll try to look.
Yeah, I can't read. Thank you. Someone had to annotate on, I think. I'm going to pause it for a minute because we're going to need to get rid of that so y'all can see better. Hang on. We're going to go to here and see. Maybe if I just restart it, that'll clear it. We try that. It's always the easiest thing to do, isn't it? Ah, that did it. Yay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thank you, Holly.
Yep.
Everyone seeing the video, give me the thumbs up. Yeah, awesome. Elephants also cover the bodies with the mud as kind of a sunscreen, helps them deal with the intense sun. This is the dry season. You can see there's trees are dormant. It's really dry. I'm going to pause here if anyone's counting, because this is a good spot to count. We've got one just off screen in the mud hole. So what I'm going to try to do is get adults and immatures and babies. So I think this is a really good section for that. And we can cheat a little and pause, which we can't do in real life. But if you were doing a field survey, you'd be taking lots of photos and counting that way. People who count wildlife like the elephants in biologists do aerial surveys. They use cameras, but they also have a way of estimating individuals using grids that they hold out, and they get really good at it. And that's how the Pan-African elephant census was carried out. A friend of ours was one of the instigators of that. So let's see, I'm counting. right, we're going to keep moving here. And then pretty soon we're going to come back and share and compare. Okay. Let's see what we've got so far to share with each other. I think that'll be fun. I can show you what I quickly did. Okay, good. So you can see here, I just did some tallies. I kind of came up with around 43. I kept having to redo it on a scrap piece of paper, but I think I had about 6 of the little babies, about 12 immatures, and maybe about 25 adults. But again, it's hard. They're moving around a lot. This was over a long time. Oh, just so I will share with you, you'll get the metadata. Those of you who have taken my workshops before, I always put the location. I usually start with this, but I think this is really important when you're doing observational journaling, that you put the date, put where you are, specifically where you are. The coordinates are important, the coordinates, because later you refer back to this, you might have some really great data that you're going to want to know where you were, when it was. I always put the temperature, because I'm a weather nerd, and I put the sunrise and sunset. So that helps me situate myself in place and time. And that makes your nature journals, your field notebooks, valuable way beyond just a bunch of pretty pictures or words. So always do your metadata and always number your pages, which I'll do at the end. I did a really quick capture because I noticed that there was this great little trio at one point of a almost adult, a subadult, like all 3 in a row. It was a great little capture. So I just used the shape thing where I just did circles and triangles real quick, and then I can go back and add detail, make it better later. I made a note, like in a little square, asked myself, was I really observing them eating the mud? Yeah, I was. They eat the mud for as I said, the minerals, and then they'll throw it on their bodies and they'll roll in it. So yes, on that. And then real quick capture of the, let's see if I can get there we go, of the male's face. I wasn't quite happy with my proportions here because I really wanted to show how broad this was. But this was just a really quick capture of this guy's massive trunk. And, you know, this was, you want to try to foreshorten a little bit here. His tusks were broken and pretty gnarly looking. So that was just a quick capture. Then I made some notes about, I thought he, just guesstimating, I might ask some experts, you know, how old he is, and that he was definitely about 20% taller than other adults. And those were my notes. So let me see if you would like to, let's see, I'm gonna go first to the chat and see. Oh, Graham, thank you. We have someone put in the coordinates, Kabunga Pan and Chobe. Graham, who put that in there, was actually with us on this trip, so he saw all those elephants. Thank you. And the coordinates, I will share a PDF with you with all the metadata, the coordinates. Is the drawing of the sizes of elephants in circles and rectangles included in the download? No, but I will do that. So I will definitely put that. Thank you for that reminder. I will put the slide in there. How does baby stay with mom? Some look like last year's babies. Yes. So one of the things I observed about this herd, and I'm sure Graham did too, was there were a lot of juveniles and young. This was a really productive herd. So those ladies were doing quite well and taking good care of their babies. So they keep up. It's amazing how the question might be, how long does baby stay with mom? It's not how does baby stay with mom? I think that's what you intended, Judith. They stay into their teens. And we actually observed, we didn't get it on film, but in this group, we observed some females trying to get a male out. He was just sub-adult or almost adult, or maybe they were deciding he was an adult male, and they were being really mean to him. They were shoving him around and trying to drive him out. So I think by the time they become kind of like us, you know, you got your 20-year-old son, it's like, get out of the house, right? Time to go, we're tired of you. So I'll have to look into that. Looks like we're getting counts of between 41, 42, excellent. We're all getting around the same, at least in here. Maybe 5 babies, then 2 more, maybe 7. Yeah, they'd leave, some would leave, some would come in. It's the juveniles and the babies. So what I tried to do is use like the belly of the mamas. If they can just come up to the belly, that's really a baby. Did anyone else see the large male urinate when he moved in and stood within the group? Possibly marking. I didn't notice that. We should go take a look. Let's take a look. Let's look when big guy comes in, and then we're gonna. So I wonder if I can make this bigger. No, I was hoping I could zoom in, but I can't. So is he urinating? You have a good screen. Everyone's watching. You can see the babies walking behind him underneath. I'm not seeing it. So if anyone else sees it, that doesn't mean it's not there. It's just my eyes. There we go, I think. Yeah, let me know if anyone else sees that. No, I don't think they mark. The question was, is it territorial? I don't think so. I don't think elephants do that. Graham, if you can speak to that in the chat, that would be good. Yeah, Graham didn't observe that either. Anyone else see it? Yeah, it looked like he was leaning forward, you know, like how sometimes you see that. So yeah, Graham says, I did note that it looked like his penis was infected. So maybe he had a urinary infection, and it was difficult for him. Certainly at his age, he probably would have some concerns Thanks, Graham. Does anyone want to share what they did and count? So I'm going to take the first group. I can see I've got a toggle between 2 pages. So I see someone has a parrot on their head. That's awesome. Hope. I like your parrot. So now I've seen a chicken, a cat, a dog, and now a parrot. That's awesome. Okay, so if you want to share, wave your hand because I can't. Okay, Dale, I saw Dale first and then Connie. So what I'm going to do is unmute you, Dale, and then if you can speak so that you're come up in the screen.
So can you hear me?
Yes, so now hold up if you want to hold that up.
Yeah, I was trying to do his head. Well,
Nice.
his body.
That's great. So move more to one side. Let's see, you're not quite in the, other way, your other side. There we go, now up a little. Now move, perfect. That's wonderful. You really got the way his leg was coming forward as he walked, and that massive space between his eyes, and that trunk across. Really great. And you foreshortened the tusks too. That's really, really nice. Well done. What else did you observe?
When I was counting, I got different numbers from y'all. I got like 12 babies and then about 25 females and the male. But then I thought, oh, there's like 12 mediums. You know what I mean? Like the...
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the kind of subadult, they're called.
Uh-huh, yeah. I don't know if any of them were males and they were getting booted or not.
Yeah, we did not get video of the aggression toward the young male, but he refused to go. And boy, he made a lot of noise, if I'm recalling. Graham wrote in the chat here, older males, this is regarding the male and going peeing. First, Cynthia noted that, yeah, he did stretch out like the way horses go, where they lean funny. And then Graham says older males can lose the ability to retract their penis and it can get really uncomfortable for them. So that's probably what we're seeing. The photo, you can see that. So he's an old guy for sure. So thank you, Dale, for that. I'm going to mute you again and then.
Okay.
I can mute you. And then Connie Teeple, you wanted to. So go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm not able to unmute you. And speak so that you pop up.
Okay, I just did try to do the male.
Nice. I like how he's like the biggest part over the water hole. That's awesome. Nice decision on kind of how to do that and how you wrote over his body. Yeah, hold that up and hold it steady so folks can see that. Perfect. And your size groups are great. That just really gives you, did you feel that sketching the size groups helped you kind of get into the elephant zone?
Yes, and to observe which ones were babies. Although, again, I think I counted babies over twice. I had 11 babies, and it was kind of hard to, yeah.
Nice. Anything else you want to share?
I didn't see the male elephant was still kind of hard to even see. There were so many other elephants around him and he just kind of blended in with everything, but it was really interesting.
Good. Yeah. Now, if we were in the field, we would all have binoculars, right? So that would really help us on that. So I'm going back to gallery view. Thank you, Connie. I'm going to mute you again. Wave, I'm going to go to the wave if you want. Let's see. Well, if you're waving and you don't have your video on, I can't see you. So I'm going to have to go with Connie Hamilton. Unmute yourself.
Okay. One of the things I guess I would add over some of the others, I did a little bit more environmental, talking about the mud, but the lack of really heavy visible water, how all the grasses were very yellow and dried looking. And then I did a little bit of the background, which just showed really dark, what I would presume was very dried trees without leaves. I kind of took that big elephant and blew him out the corner and added some of the comments. I must admit, I was probably preconditioned with some of your discussions of the pictures to be able to add some of the data. I don't know that I've been that quick to be able to add some of the information. So the big elephant, and then I did a loner elephant out off to the side, and I counted 43 and 4 to 5 babies. And so that's kind of the way I transcribed my information.
Nice. I love that. That's great. And yeah, you know, we're doing a virtual safari, so we can cheat
So there
little
was a
bit.
lot of shared information on there, which
Yeah, and if you
helped.
go on safari in real life together, then what we're going to do is we're going to sit up there in that hide, and we'll be looking at our field guides, and we'll be looking up this information, and we'll be sharing it with you, you know, that type of thing. Your guides, Graham Jackson, who's been here on answering questions in the chat. Graham leads safaris in Botswana, and we are, I'll have a question for you all about that later if you're interested, when we can all travel again. We are going to do some sketching trips to Botswana. So,
and I'm the drawing or sketching of the different age groups. I did that more in a note-taking journal, as you were talking early in the thing, but it did help as I began to make shapes and forms loosely on this particular view of the journey. So
good.
Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to mute you again. Thank you. Wave if you want to share. Cynthia, let me look the other, no, everybody on the other page appears to be like, nope, they don't. Okay, so Cynthia Bonnet. Cynthia, there you go. You're unmuted, so if you speak, you'll pop up.
Hi. I love this. This is so awesome.
Oh, good.
Doing this, and this is my sketch, if you can see it, of the big elephant. Can you see it okay?
Yes, nice proportions.
And then next to it, I have his eye. I did a little bit because I love eyes on animals. And then I got the little white guy wallowing in the mud right here. And the way I did the herd up here is I just did circles, big circle, little circles, whatever. Like there's a group here and there's a group there with the big one and a group over here. And then I put numbers above them to give me the total. But before I did that, I did your sketch of the different sizes. I love that idea because it did show the differences in the heads and things. I love that. Anyway, this is too much fun.
Great idea to represent the numbers and the individual animals as a map looking down and doing the circles. I love that idea. Totally.
I also did a little, like, as if I was looking down map on the other one, and I showed where there's scrub trees and then very little plants, 2 or 3 water holes with water, and then there's the grass again. So it was like there's this changing of the ground level, you know, of the fauna and stuff on the ground.
And that's a fantastic observation. You did notice the different water holes. Graham's indicating to everyone, Kabunga, this hole it's a pumped water hole. So it's actually, there is a little geyser, a little water pump right there. I think, were there 3 or so, were there 2 outlets, Graham, do you recall? You can unmute yourself if you want to talk.
Yeah, there's 1 outlet, I think, but there are 3 catch pans. So there are 3, if you look at it on Google Earth, there are 3 little circular catch pans. And then that place where the mud is just sort of where the overflow goes when it's full. But obviously it wasn't really full when we were there because it was late in the year.
It was quite dry, and which was why, so we were there for approximately 4 hours, and I think we estimated a total of about 65 individuals. Is that what you had in your notes or somewhere around there?
Yeah, it was around that. I got 42 on the...
Just on ours, yeah.
Yeah,
But
And then we had different herds moving in and out. So, yeah.
And that was one of the largest groups we encountered on the entire Botswana section. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Imagine what 500 would look like. Or 1,000. Pretty amazing. So let's see. Anyone else want to talk or share? Swatching up. Oh, gotcha. Kathy, you'll have to unmute yourself, Kathy, and then speak so you pop up.
Unmute, mute.
Okay, I think I hear you. Yeah, there you go. Oh, you're muted again. There we go. Now you should be able to talk.
Okay, is that
Gotcha.
working? All right, so what I did is just a little, I don't know if you can see, you guys can see this. It's kind of small. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so what I had noticed was that when that male elephant was walking forward, he was swinging his trunk. And so that's why I did that one with the 3. It looks like it has 3 trunks there. But anyway, the other thing I noticed is that there was a female sort of facing him, and she seemed to be raising her trunk and curving it toward him to maybe smell him and identify him. And
great observation. I knew.
Yeah, and I just did a real rapid sketch of the big male. I was wondering too, like how many toes they have. And you guys can see this. It's really faint.
Yeah,
it's pretty faint.
I've only observed 3 in the front, but
3.
I keep meaning to look up how many they actually have. So
I wonder if they have 5, like human beings.
Yeah, they should,
digits.
but observable. Yeah. I've only ever observed 3, so I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good. So in my notebook, what I will do, and this is just classic field notes, is I'm going to write here how many toes.
The other question I was wondering is, this guy was old and his tusks were worn down. If they lose a tusk or break it, can they grow another one in their lifetime?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Graham, what's your knowledge of that? Graham's a certified safari guide in Africa, Southern Africa.
So the tusks grow continuously, but they're very, very slow.
Okay.
So they usually wear them down quicker than they grow. So that's the problem they have. And then their teeth also grow continuously, but they only grow up to a certain point. And then usually older elephants will die from starvation because all of their teeth come out, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I mean, if they broke one off, it's not going to come back soon,
it's not
like
a
deer or something. You know, it's going to stay pretty small.
Yeah.
So why are we seeing poachers getting these giant tusks?
There's still some big tusked elephants out there. In fact, I was very surprised to see that just this past year, probably the largest elephant in Kenya that's ever been recorded, his tusks were astounding. He called Goliath, Graham, do you remember? He was in Savo, and he died of a natural death. So the poachers aren't getting all of them.
Okay.
But they're getting many. And of course
I think the ones in East Africa tend to grow larger tusks because especially in Botswana, they use their tusks on trees all the time and eat bark. So they really wear them down. As you could see from that big male, his tusks were very well worn.
Yes. And I think that speaks to what's happened in East Africa. So comparatively, habitat-wise, East Africa is now very partitioned. The animals can't move the way they used to in large landscapes. There's a ton of human development. The government forced the Maasai to become sedentary, so there's now fences and land ownership, whereas humans and animals used to move around in East Africa, just like they still do in Botswana. So in Botswana, they're still doing trees the way they normally would. Elephants create savannas by taking down trees, and then they move on, and the trees will eventually come back. So they create grassland. It's a dynamic, but in Tsavo and Amboseli, everything's just sort of completely different. There's not really big trees left. So they get huge tusks, as Graham said. Any word on that large number of dead elephants recently? Graham and I were just talking about that. There's no data back on whether there was poison involved. So no, we don't know yet. About 300 elephants in Botswana were in the panhandle of the Okavango were found dead, and not all together. It's pretty spread out. Graham, do you remember that we identified like what, 4 carcasses in various places that just appeared to have died, no poaching?
Yeah. And it was north of where this waterhole was. And it was kind of strange. We thought it was poaching, but the tusks were still there and everything. So
we noted that this filming was just a year ago when Graham and his wife and my husband and I were on safari together in Southern Africa. So it may have been a disease moving through. And someone asked, could they get COVID? And they don't think so. But we don't know. So we're kind of nearing the end here. Someone is saying on the chat, we encountered forest elephants in Rwanda. It doesn't seem like they are savanna creators like the ones we saw in Serengeti. That's correct. They have different behaviors. They aren't opening up large forests as much. However, there is some thought that I have read that forest elephants and desert elephants, so in Namibia, they call them the desert elephants. That's not a historic population, that they moved into the forests and they moved into the deserts to get away from humans when humans started hunting them aggressively during colonial times, and then of course poaching for ivory. So have you read up on that, Graham?
no, actually I haven't, but I had heard that they were recent changes.
Yeah, so they may not, be really physiologically the same at all, even though it's the same species still. So it's very recent. We're talking within a couple 100, 300 years, 400. So that's very recent evolutionarily. So let me go back to, let's see. I think that we'll be wrapping up shortly, and I'm going to share on the website. I'll send you all an email when it's all up, so you can download the photos, the slideshow with the different shapes. Graham, thank you for coming on. Are you still on the?
Yep, you're welcome. I just looked up a thing online in Science magazine that says elephants might have a 6th toe, so awesome. They might actually have 6 toes.
Nice. So it's like I've only ever observed 3, and I've never gone back to research like, okay, where are the other 2? They should have 2, and I mean, 5, but 6. So
they think that the 6th one's way up the leg, and it doesn't actually touch the ground. So
kind of like a dew claw on or a dog. Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Roseanne, this is Olivia. I posted a link. I just did a quick Google search, and there was an article that said that the African elephants they all have basically said 5 toes, but that they only have 4 toenails on the back, but 5 in the front.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then, but in what was really cool was a little diagram of the anatomy of the foot with the bones, and shows where they come down on the toes. There's a cool diagram in that article.
Thank you very much. So go to exploringoverland.com and field arts, and on the tutorials page, you'll see the new Botswana section, and I'll put all that in there. And feel free to send me, if you want me to put your images on the website. I usually share participants' pages if they are so inclined. So thank you all very much for attending. And I hope it was fun. It was a different way to do it this time. Instead of watching me draw, I kind of put the burden on you to challenge observation in a difficult, it was a difficult field setting. You know, we would have had flies all over us in reality. So hopefully this was a little more pleasant. All right. I think we'll wrap up then. Thank you, everybody. And have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be scheduling one. It will be a while, probably a few more weeks. I've got a big job helping to put together a webinar on the Bighorn Fire in Tucson. So I'm pretty, goodbye, somebody's
Thank you.
like that. Bye.